this video I'm going to be making it specifically for my M105 students at IUK. We're going to be sketching quadratic functions. We're going to go through all the pieces and parts of a quadratic function and then use them to sketch it. This would be things that you will be doing in section 8-3. So first off, I wanted to take a look at a quadratic function in standard form. If it's a function, it's going to have this f of x notation. Alright, ax squared plus bx plus c is just your standard form. Your axis of symmetry is found by the formula x equals negative b over 2a. That's a pretty common formula. You probably are used to this from your high school Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 classes. This does say x equals negative b over 2a, which means that's the x coordinate of the vertex. So you calculate your negative b over 2a, you find your x value, and then, this is function notation, you plug that answer back into the original function, and then that will give you your y value, so that you will have a coordinate or a set of ordered pairs, an ordered pair there for your vertex of your parabola. You can find, when you are in standard form, you can find your y-intercept by 0c, or in other words, letting x equal 0, which would knock those two terms out. You can find your x-intercepts by basically solving that formula using the quadratic formula. So in other words, you would be letting y equal 0, and then you would be solving for x with either the quadratic formula, or you could, if it factors, then you could solve and get those x-intercepts just by factoring as well, or any other method for solving that quadratic equation. So just kind of summarizing the things that we're going to go through, these are the pieces and parts that we're going to use to sketch a quadratic function. Alright, so in my example here, we are going to sketch f of x is equal to 3x squared plus 12x plus 8. Alright, so I'm just going to go through all those individual pieces that we just looked at and calculate each one of those. Alright, I'm going to start with my axis of symmetry. Okay, so axis of symmetry was the formula x equals negative b over 2a. Okay, so coming back up here, we all know that this is ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so there is where my a, b, and c is. Okay, so I'm going to take those coefficients and I'm going to plug them in. B is 12, so then I'm going to have a negative 12 over 2 times my a, which is a 3. Negative 12 over 6 there is going to give me a negative 2. So x equals negative 2 is my axis of symmetry, and we will actually put that on our sketch. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do, I've calculated the negative b over 2a, which is my axis of symmetry. Now I'm going to take this and plug it back into that function so that I can find the coordinates of my vertex. Okay, so for my vertex, I'm going to take that negative 2, plug it back in the function. So I'm going to write it showing function notation. F of negative 2 is equal to 3 negative 2 squared plus 12 times the negative 2 plus an 8. Okay, at this, it's just a matter of arithmetic. You go ahead, use calculator, work that out, do it by hand, whichever happens to be easier for you. Answer turns out to be negative 4. Okay, so that means the x coordinate of the vertex is negative 2, and the y coordinate is negative 4. So my vertex is negative 2, negative 4, written as an ordered pair. Okay, I can real quickly get the y-intercept because the y-intercept is always going to be 0c. So let's go ahead and put that on here. Y-intercept is 0, 8 because I know c is 8. So we also have the y-intercept we can put on really quickly here. Alright, now for our x-intercepts, that's going to take a little bit more work. X-intercepts. Alright, so this does not factor at all, so we are going to have to use quadratic formula in this scenario, so we're going to do quadratic formula. Alright, and I am going to assume that you already know how to use the quadratic formula. It's pretty common there. Let's go ahead and write it down though. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so we're going to have to do that for this one. So on this one we'll have a negative 12 plus or minus the square root of b squared would be 144 minus 4 times a times c, so 4 times a is 3 times 8 is c. And then all over 2 times the 3 on the bottom, which is going to give me a 6. Alright, so this in here 144 times, or minus 3 times 4 times 8, I believe is going to give me a 48 underneath here. So I'm going to have a negative 12 plus or minus the square root of a 48 all over 6. Alright, at this point I would probably grab a calculator and come up with the 2 decimals here. That way it's going to be easier to approximate on our graph. So if you want, you can pause the video and try to get these 2 decimals. I believe we're going to get x is negative 0.84. We're also going to get x is approximately negative 3.15. Okay, so again, rough estimates there so that when we go to do our sketch here, we'll have about where it's going to go. Alright, so vertex, that's probably the first thing that I would do. I would put on a vertex of negative 2, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's my vertex. Alright, next thing I would probably do is I'd probably go ahead and do the y-intercept of 0, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, now we do know we can look at the leading coefficient here. It is positive, which is telling me I'm going to have an upright parabola, which this does make sense if this is my vertex and I have a point up here. Okay, we also know that the parabola is symmetrical. Alright, so if I went 2 to the right here and then all the way up to here for a point, it's going to have a symmetrical point over this way. So if we go 2 and then up as high as that is, then I'm going to do this one in red. Then clearly that point's going to be on the parabola as well. Alright, if I wanted to approximate these 2 on here, so negative 0.8, somewhere roughly in there. This one negative 3.15, so 1, 2, 3, so somewhere roughly in there. Okay, so this will be a bad parabola sketch here, but I'm going to do the best I can. Come down, go through your vertex, hit those, go back up there. Okay, so like I said, rough sketch. We are sketching, we're not really making a precise graph here. Alright, now you are going to want to go ahead and put that axis of symmetry on. That axis of symmetry is going to be an up and down line going through negative 2. Alright, so if you're hand drawing these, definitely you want to put that axis of symmetry on there. Alright, and then label the axis of symmetry as x equals negative 2 because that's the vertical line, meaning that it is symmetrical to both sides. Alright, so in this section what we're going to be doing basically is just taking a look at those quadratic functions and all the different pieces and parts. Can you calculate an axis of symmetry, a vertex? Can you find the y-intercept? Can you find the x-intercepts? Alright, obviously I did not write them as ordered pairs here. They would be written as ordered pairs, should be probably. But then coming up with a relatively positive looking sketch here of what this quadratic function is going to look like. Definitely thanks for watching. If the videos are helping, please share with your friends so they can benefit too. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.